My name is John Wilcox, and this is Redeeming the Fathers of America. Would it bother you if after you had been dead for 200 years, your life is summed up in a single quote that was taken out of context? That is precisely the case with many of our founding fathers. This is the reality we face in our modern education system, where the facts of history have and are being rewritten to satisfy the secular humanists of our time. We live in a day where tolerance, and specifically religious tolerance, has been redefined to mean acceptance of every cultural movement except for biblical Christianity. If the progenitors of this strategy succeed, what will be left of our authentic and well-documented history? This series is designed to reestablish the correct foundations of these United States of America as the historical record describes it. We will take a look at the good, the bad, and sometimes ugly events of our history, but we will not ignore the character of the people nor the biblical principles by which our forefathers constructed this country, how they lived and died, and how remarkable men of such varied backgrounds came together in unity to draft this nation's founding documents. What we will also discover is how the colonies were primarily Puritan in their worldview. They would impact the ever-changing landscape of America, developing into various branches of Christianity, which left a significant imprint upon the lives of so many of our founding fathers. Whether they were Congregationalists, Methodists, Quakers, or Presbyterian, they had one thing in common. Most believed in the God of creation and how the divine was not only capable, but purposeful in leading them forward. By the early 1770s, those early settlers had expanded their reach over 13 colonies. As the King of England was desperate to pay for debt incurred through the war with the French and Indians, he decided to lay a larger share of that burden on those in the New England colonies. This undue and excessive taxation by His Majesty the King of England would demand a response from the colonists. Once their grievances were composed and received by the Parliament and the King, our founding fathers sought to establish a union of colonies wherein the best and highest interests of its citizens would be protected from this coalition rather than it becoming a mere reflection of tyrannical Britain. The representatives of this coalition were elected by each of the colonial legislatures or a committee of correspondence to represent their respective colony. These colonial representatives met at Carpenter's Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania from September 5th to October 26, 1774. At this meeting of the First Continental Congress, 56 men signed what would become known as the Association. It was to represent the collective voice of the colonies. When the decision was made to secede from the government of England, 56 men worked on and signed the Declaration of Independence. Then after the Revolutionary War, 48 men signed the Articles of Confederation, and 39 men worked on and signed the Constitution of the United States. When we consider the men who worked on two or all three documents, we get a total of 125 founders who were instrumental in the formation, structure, and development of this great country. We cannot go through every one of these men's lives, but we can show that there is a clear majority of the founders who are driven by a biblical worldview. Most Americans are familiar with Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin. A few are also familiar with Alexander Hamilton, John Hancock, John Jay, John Morris, and James Madison. Beyond this, the rest of these great men are unknown to the beneficiaries of their work. It was not always so in America. The schools used to teach about many of America's founding fathers, whereas now they merely give lip service to the top 6 in the education of our children. What we want to accomplish with this video series is to reintroduce Americans with their founders. In doing so, we hope to resuscitate patriotism where the citizens of this country have a knowledge whereby they can be proud of this country. For the past 40 or more years, we have been inundated with accusations of America doing evil. We do not seek to hide her imperfections, but these imperfections must be placed in parallel with the good and with what this country stands for. Thank you for watching Redeeming the Fathers of America. Thank you.